I slept on the floor that day because I was going to go get furniture. And I remember crying, just being like, my mom just left. I just signed this 1-year lease. I had the CN Tower out my window. And I was just like, am I making the right decision?
Hi guys, welcome back to Coffee with the Collective. We're your hosts, Raven and Tamar. Today we have our lovely guest, Amin Dillon. She is a host and producer. Amin, we're so happy to have you.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So Amin, we wanted to have you as a guest because we see you on social media all the time. We love your work. We love your voice. We want to know what got you into your career choice.
Okay, so it's such a big question because I feel like my career has gone through so many ups and downs, but basically I'll kind of take you back. So in case some of the viewers are not familiar with me, I actually started my career in television. So back when everyone had cable, I did television for 10 years, and that's where I think a lot of people started to get to know me. From there, Facebook started to get really popular, and then Instagram came. So I wanted to connect with my audience. And so I found it was a great way for me to share what I was doing, but also to have sort of this open dialogue to say, hey, do you know someone that's interesting? Or is there an event going on that's important to you that you would like us to cover? So that's kind of where the social media aspect started, which was really great because, again, I think when you're on television, you're so removed from the audience, right? Like, unless you're there in person, you'll get some interviews, but then a lot of it is just like this in studio. So I really wanted to reflect the community. So it was really great. I don't even know how this happened, but I think I just fell in love with that sense of community and really engaging with people and knowing what they were doing. So I actually was able to get sort of my first success with social media with Facebook. So with Facebook, I started just kind of playing around with it because I'm like, how do you grow numbers? And this is like back before I think Facebook was sold to Instagram. It was completely separate. So I started posting every day. I started just looking at best practices. And organically, I was able to grow it to just under 400,000.
Wow.
And it was really crazy because it was my experiment too. I wanted to get my television company to also get involved in social media. So I thought, if I show that I was able to go from like very little and grow it to such a big number, that there's an audience there. And so that to me was like incredible. And then from there I started with Instagram, but I just find now there's so many social platforms that I still use it now for a way just to promote what I'm doing. I think everything that I'm doing, and I think a lot of businesses can do this, is unless people know what you're doing, how do they know to support you? So because my career has evolved so much now, I want to make sure people are aware that every new step that I'm taking, that I can take them along on the journey.
I love that. And that's the beauty of social media.
It really is.
It's the essence of connecting with your audience, building a community. And so do you find yourself or like your audience, do they connect with you? And like what kind of conversations do you have with them?
Everything. So again, I experiment a lot with my social media, which is great because I have a personal page. So I'm able to just say, this is me, and I'm not really representing any specific company. I'm representing myself. So a lot of times I will post behind the scenes events, things that I'm doing. I'll promote things that are coming up, but then I also show my personal side. So I'll show me like working out or, some mishap, and people love that. Like it's actually funny how I'll post like a glam photo of myself and it does well, but it's the mishap behind the scenes. I feel like I want people to know me, not the brand version of me. I think that's important because if people like you, then I feel like it's almost like creating a new circle of friends. They will support you. Why would I ask you to support me if you don't like me? So I think being likable is really important. And then I think for me now that I'm a freelancer and I have my own business, getting work has been really important from social media. So collaborations, meeting like-minded people. I've actually met new friends through social media. Like I've had people slide into my DMs. Isn't that amazing? And we've become fast friends. Like I'm actually been invited to their weddings And I'm like,
That's
we would have
amazing.
not met had it not been social media.
Yeah.
So that's why I think social media is such a beautiful thing that you can use it for work, you can make money, but you also can create that community that I was talking about before.
Exactly.
You can make new friends. I literally,
Even us.
Yeah,
like
even
I was
us.
saying, like worked with you years ago.
Yeah.
Had we not have social media, we probably would have lost
It's
touch.
true. We wouldn't have connected then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I love about social media now in 2024 is the authenticity. That's the biggest trend right now. Even when you're a business owner, people don't actually want to follow your business. They want to follow you.
Yes.
They want to see what you do,
Yeah.
what you're about, what you do to build your brand and how you get clients, how you succeed. They want to know everything that you do behind the scenes. So that's the trend. So I love that you're embracing that and really doing that with your own brands. That's awesome.
And also, I wanted to mention, you know, I think back in the day, it was really hard to get in touch with people, like unless you knew them, right? If you had your phone number, if you had their email. Now with social media, everyone is a DM away. So I always say, like, my DMs are open. And I've actually had people give me great people to interview before. Like sometimes I don't have the network for someone, right? And let's say I'm looking for someone for healthcare. And again, I'm like, I've got my contacts, but there's probably somebody that I haven't met. And honestly, I've met so many incredible people with incredible stories just because somebody that I met once or just, you know, through an acquaintance said, hey, here's the Instagram of somebody that I think you should really meet. And then I'm like, oh my God, this person's incredible. I really want to give them a platform. So it's, again, really cool how you're able to kind of connect and even on a global scale.
Yeah, love that. The power of social media. We love it at our agency.
Yeah.
So I did want to ask you a little bit about what you do during your downtime. What are some of your hobbies? What do you like to do for fun?
Ooh, I was going to say hobbies, eh? So being an entrepreneur, I feel like there's no off switch. That's one thing I've learned, that I feel like I'm constantly working, but I love what I do. So that is key. I don't feel like it's a job. So when I'm not technically on duty, I'm still doing things to grow as an entrepreneur. So right now I'm really into learning, I was mentioning earlier about money, growing my business, just so that I, as a businesswoman, I'm taking care of myself. I also like to meet other entrepreneurs. So I'm really into networking events. Just again, it's collaboration. And again, being an entrepreneur can be really lonely because I am a business of one. I'm not at a point now where I have a team. So sometimes, you know, when you're trying to just be inspired or motivated, it's hard sometimes doing it for yourself. So I find when I meet other people, especially entrepreneurs, especially other young female women of color entrepreneurs, they get the struggle. So just feeling like someone sees you, understands you, it makes you go, one, I'm not having like a weird moment. This is completely normal. And then also you think, how can we lift each other up? And again, I'm going to go back to that word community. I think as an entrepreneur, you need to have people around you that understand where you're trying to go and are able to say, I can relate, and how can we support each other?
For
So
sure.
again, I guess I don't know if that's a hobby, but I love meeting people that I feel like are like almost like comfort for my soul.
Almost like-minded.
Yeah, like I don't party. I don't really like clubbing. I'm all about health and fitness. Again, as an entrepreneur, you got to take care of yourself, right? Mental health is a big thing. And I cannot stress this enough. It is sometimes overwhelming as an entrepreneur, especially since this is my first few years, 100% as an entrepreneur. Before I had my TV gig and I could always rely on that. Now I have nothing to rely on.
Yeah.
So it sometimes is scary. And, you know, you have to surround yourself by people that are positive, that are going to say, yeah, you can do that. Even if it's like a crazy idea, they'll be like, okay, who can I introduce you to that can help
It's
that
very
happen?
true. It's very true, and I understand the entrepreneurial struggle. We both we both
Yeah.
are entrepreneurs, so we understand how insane it could be. And building, like, you know, our space from the ground up. Amni and I, we did it together as entrepreneurs because we realized that that was our passion. That's something we had to do. So it was just a lot of work, a lot of dedication, 24/7. No partying, just like you said, no drinking, no going out. It was literally office, fitness, health. That's
Hustle.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. Hustle. And I know they say if it's your hobby, it's not really hustling. I get that, but you just have to have a fine balance between burnout and taking care of yourself while also still working. So that brings me to the next question.
Yeah.
Do you ever get burnt out being an entrepreneur?
Oh, yeah. And that's why I feel like there's moments where I'll disappear from my actual friends and family. And that's why I was saying it's really important to have a group that understands it. Sometimes I'm like, I just don't have anything in me. And I remember, I think the first few months, especially during the pandemic, I'd actually had run a campaign. I don't know if you remember that. So I actually ran in the election. Ooh,
I do
love saying that.
remember actually
Yeah.
years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was sort of that moment where I was like, how do I make a difference? And this opportunity came, and I was like, you know what? One of the things I think I struggle with is thinking I'm ready. And that is something that a lot of female entrepreneurs have also shared with me. I feel like we always think, oh, when I'm ready, I'm going to take that step. Or, you think of all the reasons why you're not ready. And I remember talking to other women and thinking like, why do we do that? Like, how do you actually know you're ready? Sometimes you just got to jump and do it. And honestly, every time I've just jumped, I've always landed on my feet.
Yeah.
I've never regretted just like going for it. So again, this opportunity came in and I thought, wow, I could use my platform to make a difference. I ran. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. On top of that, I had, my business, and it was just a lot on me. And I felt emotionally, spiritually, physically, I was exhausted. So after the election finished, I was able to put my business on hold, and I just literally did nothing. I just was so burnt out. I honestly have never imagined something like that. I miss people's weddings, birthdays, because I just felt like I just had nothing in me. And it's because when you're in that moment, you're just focused on the end goal. So I was like, I just need to do my best. I have to bring 100%. And it's hard bringing 100% every single day, especially when, something new. So I'm so glad I did it. I learned a lot that I actually still apply to my entrepreneurship. But that was a really tough time. And luckily, my mom flew in, so I had family around to like help out. But yeah, that was one of the hardest things.
That's rough, but you took a risk and you learned from it. Everything you do, whether it's good or bad, you always learn from it. You always have a takeaway. So it's good that you had that experience of running for the election. Like, that's actually crazy because I saw it years ago.
Yeah.
Years ago, I think I saw it on Facebook and I saw signs about it because Instagram wasn't as big back then. Yeah. Wow. Well, congrats to you.
Yeah. But that's why it's like, even though I didn't win, I learned so much about it. And honestly, I'm so glad I did it because, again, it got me into, I feel like as an entrepreneur, I'm always trying to grow. So I think unless you try something totally different, you don't know what you're capable of. So now I know anything I apply my mind to, I know I can do it. Even if I don't get the result I wanted, it wasn't because I failed. It's because it wasn't meant for me. There's something else meant for me.
Exactly.
So from there, it gave me sort of that courage to go, okay, if I could run in an election and do all this as a first timer, why couldn't I run my own media brand? And that is why last year I went full in onto my own media company.
That's amazing. That's so amazing. And I'm glad you said that because I always say to everybody when an opportunity doesn't work out, what's meant to be yours will always be yours. And if it's not meant to be, it won't. And you just accept it. You move on because there's other opportunities for you.
Yeah, I think one of the, I don't know if we're going to go into tips here, but I think you think of all the reasons why it wouldn't work out. And you think, oh, I don't want to fail. But it's like, that will hold you back. I think especially once you're out of school, once you're in your 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s and whatever age you want to be as starting something new, you have to keep pushing yourself to try something new because honestly, we are so capable. And you won't know what you're capable of unless you test yourself. People can tell you, people can encourage you, but until you actually put yourself through it, you won't know. So that's why I would say don't focus on the result because one, it could be timing, may not work out this time. It doesn't mean it won't work out down the road. Or maybe it wasn't meant for you, but the lessons you learn from there, you're going to apply to something that is meant for you.
Yeah, it's very true. And yeah, it's just so important to just take the risk and just do it because at the end of the day, you'll never know unless you actually tried. Yeah.
And like going to that topic, I've experienced these kind of things where I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. I need to try it out and I need to be successful by this age, right? And like I look back and I'm like, that mindset I used to have is so wrong because the harder I tried, I feel like the further I got pushed back because I didn't see a result. I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel discouraged just because I don't see results. But then now I take the advice of like, oh, you just have to keep trying and don't give yourself timelines. Because when you give yourself timelines, I feel like that's when you just kind of drop and leave.
Absolutely. And also don't compare yourself to other people.
Oh, yeah,
that's one of the downsides of social media that I know did mess with my head a little bit and now I know how to deal with it. Social media, everyone is posting their best lives. No one's going to show you
No.
the not so good days, right?
true.
When I went through my burnout, I didn't post. I actually was very quiet on social media. So when I'm quiet on social media, either that's when you know I'm working on something, I'm evolving, I'm not ready to show you,
Yeah.
or I'm really like going through I have to detox. The problem when you're a public personality, when you go quiet, people notice, right? So people are like, did you leave the industry? Like, what's going on? And I was like, no, just taking a little detox. But you look at other people and you go, well, they seem to have more followers. Oh, they seem to have more opportunities. It's all fake. I hope everyone knows that. Like, we're all posting our best selves. Don't compare, because that will make you think you're behind or you're doing something wrong. You're good. Like, just have your own goals. Don't be comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah, honestly, it's so social media is amazing, but it can be very toxic.
Yeah.
You should never compare yourself to other people, because that's the beauty of individuality. Like, you're your own person. Be authentic, embrace who you are as a person, and don't try to be like other people, because
It's all
just be happy
fakes.
with yourself.
Even like on my like, let's say on like people's worst days, they post happy things.
Yeah.
So people can give them reassurance. Oh, you're doing this, that, to make them feel better. So I feel like that's why it's all like so glamorized, the social media world. So yeah, don't ever compare.
It's true. Yeah. So you, as an entrepreneur and somebody who has seen this comparison happening on social media, what would you tell other younger people, or just anybody that wants to get onto social media and wants to start to build a career but are having a hard time because they see so much competition, or they're comparing themselves constantly? What would you tell them? What is the advice that you would give them?
See, social media is so different now. I feel like when we all got on social media, it was like just to stay connected with your friends.
Yeah.
Like, I literally remember coming to a conference here in Ontario, because I'm originally from Manitoba, and everyone was on Facebook at the time. And at the time, you had to get invited. I hope I'm not aging myself here, but you had to be invited. And I remember being like, I want to get invited to join this Facebook thing. Now it's like, as companies, if you're not on Facebook, it's like, I think people visit your social media more than your website. I think it's become your new company website, right? So, you can shop now on Instagram, maybe even on Facebook. Like, we didn't have that before. So I think if somebody's starting now, I would ask them, like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to just get attention? Are you trying to stay connected with people? Or are you trying to make money off of social media? Because those are two different things. So if you're trying to make money, if you're trying to create a brand, then it's like, so what is it? Is it that you want to start your own company? Or if you work for a company, is it that you're just trying to get clients? Like, again, it's such a big question now, because you really have to figure out what you're trying to do, and then what are you able to do? Not everyone wants to be on social media. Like, again, I meet entrepreneurs all the time that are shy, that are not good with posting. I'm sure you guys meet them too, some of your clients.
Of course.
And then it's like, well, don't start a social media if you're not going to actually use it, because that makes you look, right? As soon as somebody goes on your social media, they have an idea of you. So if your photos are not good, if you're not posting, then even if you're like, well, I'm not really using it, you're already putting out a negative image. It looks like actually you're not happening then. Yeah. So why would somebody want to eat at your restaurant or use your services or, hire you to perform?
For sure.
So if you're going to be on social media, like, be actually dedicated to it, and that you're actually investing and taking good quality videos and photos. You can't be like, oh, I hate social media, because I hear people say that all the time. Okay, if you hate it, then maybe don't be on it, or hire someone that can run it, right?
For sure.
So I think that's really what I think people need to be honest with themselves, what they want to get out of it, and what they're willing to give to social media.
I agree with you. And it's really important, again, like you said, if you are a restaurant, you want your food to look good.
Yeah.
If you are a lawyer, you want to educate people or look like you're a trusted source. So social media is important. And if you're not willing to make that investment, just don't do it, because there are situations where we work with clients and, they'll come to us, they'll be like, we want help with social media. We give them... by the way, guys, that's Monkey.
I only agreed to
loves
do this
attention.
interview because Monkey, want to come
He's
on?
Monkey. Everyone comes here just for her.
Come here,
This
come
is
on.
for Monkey.
Okay, Monkey, I can't decide. Okay, Monkey's like, I have too many fabulous women here, right? Entrepreneurship.
Monkey. Yeah,
But even like dogs, let's talk about that. So I follow a lot of dog Instagram accounts.
Yeah.
You can make money off of your pet. And honestly, sometimes when I'm just wanting to scroll and not see like nonsense, I just see a cute dog video, and then I go down this like dark hole of just dog videos.
I know.
Sometimes I cry actually because, like someone comes back from like war and the dog's like waiting. I'm
I
like,
know.
that dog. Yeah. So I love dogs. And that's why I was
yeah.
just like social media today is so random that you could have even your pets become social media influencers and have a career on there.
And that's the thing. People have that. There was this one woman I saw on TikTok. Her cat was an influencer and it was crazy. She's just making money off the cat. So maybe Monkey, you can become an influencer.
Monkey, you should get like your first paid like food collab.
Fun fact, actually, Monkey was named after Gossip Girl. So Gossip Girl, Chuck Bass.
Yeah.
So Chuck Bass used to have, did you watch Gossip Girl? Anybody?
Years ago, I forget though.
Yeah. So he had a dog named Monkey. So we named Monkey after Gossip Girl.
Okay.
So Monkey, that's your...
I feel like Monkey needs to be a little bit better dressed
Influencer.
then, like a little bit more
She
like
actually
New York
had
City.
She had a cute tie-dye sweater, but she didn't want to wear it. She wanted to rip it off. So
I want to see her like in one of those like plaid skirts and like
she
a
looks
white button-down
so
shirt
next podcast.
and like some platform heels and a little purse.
Next podcast.
That's what I remember from Gossip Girl was the outfits. Fashion was really big. Yeah.
Fashion is huge. Okay, we're fashionistas. We love, love, love fashion. I want to know, when you pick your outfits for events and different things, are you into fashion? How long do you spend picking an outfit?
Oh my God, this is like going to be a podcast in itself. So I feel I only wear black. I'm not a color person. People try to get me into color. I just hate it for myself now. I don't know why, but I just don't feel like I like color on me. So I like really neutral colors. And it could be from my television background, right? You always have to wear something that looked good with any set. Sometimes, especially when we did shoots in the community, you're dealing with rain, you're dealing with like humid weather. So, you're sweating or something spills, you just always have to be TV ready. So I feel like 90% of my wardrobe is black. Yeah. So when I do host, especially live events, I do try to wear something of color. So normally what I do is I will go to a local designer here. Because again, you want to support your friends and say, okay, I'm hosting, do you want to dress me? So again, it has to be something functional, right? It has to be something that's eye-catching. So you are your own image, right? Again, now as an entrepreneur, you are your own brand. You need to just like not think, we're talking about these coffee brands, right? You are now, I'm brand Amin Dylan. So then it's interesting because I feel like I wear clothes that I think reflect who I am. So as much as, I get people that are like, do this, do that, do this with your hair. I'm like, I will never change because this is who I am. So for example, I've thought about experimenting. I'm like, should I get bangs? Should I like dye my hair? Should I do this? And I'm like, but I don't feel like myself.
Yeah.
So I don't mind doing it if it's a fashion show. They get me hair and makeup team, so they'll put in like hair extensions and stuff. Cool. But let me tell you, I never feel like my true self. I actually always feel like I'm performing on stage, right? But then as soon as I'm done, I'm ripping out those hair extensions. I'm like trying to get off the extra makeup because I don't feel like it's me. So this is what you're getting. Like I feel like I'm representing myself. So I'm always ready for an interview. So if somebody calls me right now, I'm ready. But it's like comfort and it's like not in your face. Like I'm trying to, like in real life, I'm a little bit shy. I find so I always like to kind of stand and observe. And I feel like because of my TV job, people always try to make me the center of attention. And I'm like, no, sometimes I just want to be on the side. Yeah. So that's why I feel like this helps me too to be like blending in a little bit. Yeah. Like
I get that. I love that you say that because you are your own brand. You are like you represent yourself. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I realize that people love the work that our agency does. But they work with us not only because of our results, but the people that we are, our brand, the way we represent ourselves, and just the connections that we make with actual people. They love to work with us. Like you wouldn't want to work with someone you don't get along with, especially the kind of retainers we have. We work with our clients all the time, and we want to have a real connection. We want to get along. Absolutely. So your brand is a representation of literally who you are. So make it authentic and don't change it just for people, just because they want you to try something new. You got to do what you like. Yeah. That's the most important thing.
And people will try to change your image. And can I just quickly plug you as well? Yeah. So I don't know if people know, but Raven and I met like 4 years ago,
something
5 years
like
ago,
that.
randomly during the pandemic. And I'm used to doing live hosting, right, where you've got an audience and everything. We had to create these festivals and do it virtually, which is really difficult because you have no audience and everyone was like kind of far away. So Raven was the only one that was on stage with me, helping me, and it was a struggle because now I'm like not ad-libbing, I'm having to like throw to things I can't even watch. So you're like, that was fantastic, and you have no idea what they did, right? You were so supportive that I remembered you from there, and that's why even years later we've stayed in touch. And as soon as this opportunity came, I was like, no questions asked. Like, I didn't even know what was going to happen today. I just showed up because I have faith in you, because I'm like, I knew you took care of me during that event. And then I was like, okay, that means I can trust her for anything else. So.
Oh, that's so sweet. I felt the same way about you. She's a great, great speaker. And the way that you carry yourself, even that day, I loved it. I was like, I like this girl. We need to have her as a podcast guest. So
yes, and hopefully lots more. But I honestly do feel like women entrepreneurs need to help each other. I mean, I'm not trying to make this about gender, but I feel that in my line of work, women, for some reason, we don't get as many opportunities. So we really do need to create a community, because I feel like, hi Monkey. Monkey's trying to get in here too, and hi Monkey. But I do feel like where I come from, I work with all men. So it's really difficult for women to break into broadcasting. I've always wondered why. And I don't know if it's the culture, I don't know if it's just maybe the way they recruit, but in the last few years of my full-time TV career, it was all men. I was the only female host and the only female on that production team. Wow. Male editors, camera people, producers. Honestly,
I understand what you're saying, because I worked in production too for so many years, and it is very male dominant. Yeah, like I remember there were some times where people would be like, you sure you'll know what you're doing? Or they'll try to give me extra tips. And I'd be like, listen, I went to school for this. I know what I'm doing. Like, I've done this for years. So
how does that make you feel, like when you're working and you're like the only woman there?
I actually didn't notice it originally, because I just didn't see gender. I just saw I love my team. But then I would meet young women that were trying to break into the industry, and then I noticed, I'm like, there's actually not a lot of women. And I would find the women that were leaving, they were not being replaced by women. So I remember one day, I don't know what it was, but I think we were doing like a company photo, and that's where I really stood out, because I was like, wait a minute, it's all guys behind me. Like, literally, the only women were in HR or the receptionist or in accounting. Production, nothing. So it was almost like this pressure where now I'm like, I'm the only woman. So now I'm like, I got to open doors for other women. But then you're also like, that's so much pressure on me. I want to be myself, but now I feel like I have to be the best so that they'll give opportunities to other women. It was terrible. So that's why I just feel like now when I meet other women, I'm like, I find a lot of them still are around male mentors. Just they don't see a lot of female mentorship. And I feel like we need to support each other and say, hey, if you're working on something, I'm happy to work with you. I honestly, as soon as I see a woman that's doing something that I could collab with, I'm on board. Like a fashion designer, photographer, anything. Even like restaurant openings, people invite me and say, can you just come and like post it? I'm like, if I'm available that day, I will come. I'm not getting paid for that. But I'm like, I see someone who has a passion, who's trying to make their dream come true. If I can somehow come support, I'm going to do that.
I love that. It's always good to support the community, and also, again, female entrepreneurs. I completely understand. It's hard. It can get hard in a male-dominant space. So
especially for production. Because I feel like there's of course, there's a lot of males there. And like, do you also find like they tell you what to do? Do they give you did they used to criticize?
So let me just tell you, when you work with all men, you feel like you can't even be a woman. Like I remember anytime I would like start crying, like the closest people to me would be like, don't cry, don't remind them you're a woman. Yeah, they'd be like, honestly, don't cry, because they would get all uncomfortable because they don't cry, right? If they had a disagreement, they would just yell at each other, right? And they'd be friends. And I would like start crying, and everyone would get all awkward. And then I'm like, no, don't like let yourself be a woman, right? And that's why I'm just saying, I just feel like it's not, I don't think coming from a place they were trying to be mean to me or like put me down. I feel like because there weren't other women that just understood that I'm just, if I'm crying, just let me cry, right? That's just the way, if I'm upset, I'm going to deal with it, right? I'm not a yeller. I'm not going to fight with you. I'm not going to throw something at you. I'm just going to stand in the corner and cry. Like, that's my thing. Yeah. And they just saw it as like weakness, right? To be like, oh, she's going to cry, right? And I'm like, well, now I feel like I'm not even getting those opportunities because you think I'm going to cry. Just let me cry. I'll be fine. Like, I'm a professional, right?
Like, what's it to you? Just let me cry.
Yeah, so I feel like it was fun to work with all men because, again, they're just great guys. But I do sometimes feel like they didn't really understand what I was going through, right? And so then I felt really alone. And I did feel like I had to detach and say no. And that's why I even think my fashion sense, when you were asking me that question, I'm like, why do I dress this way? Again, because I work with all men, I wanted to make sure that like my
fit
body
in.
was covered even, right?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
again, you know, especially when you're a female entrepreneur, I feel like people think, oh, she like is pretty or she's like got it because of her looks. I've had people say that to me. They're like, oh, you're easy on the eyes. That's why you're like on air, you know, like you don't have a face for radio or something. And I'm like, I work my butt off. I really do. Like you don't see the stuff that I do. I'm like, there's a million other women that are probably way better than me, but why aren't they in those positions? Why is it that in media, I'm still really the only South Asian female host? When I was working, there was a few other ones in the industry. They've all left. That's why I still host a lot of live events because I'm still in the business. And people are like shocked. They're like, you've been in this business for so long. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it's crazy. I don't see any of the women that I started off my career with. They've all gone on to other things. So I feel like, again, people don't see the work. They just think, oh, she's just, and I feel like people discredit women like us,
true.
right? So that's why I just feel like I do sometimes wear this to be like, I want the attention to be on me, not on what I'm wearing or how I look. So that's why I was just realizing that. I was like, I think I haven't let that mentality go. Right? Because honestly, sometimes you get weird people. I don't know if
It's
you get weird
true.
clients, but they'll like hit on you and you're just like sweet
Yes.
cheeks. And you're just like, no thanks.
That's the worst.
true.
I've had like really prominent people be like talking about my looks.
There's a reason you're still in the business because you continued hustling,
Yeah.
grinding, and you've also adapted. Just like we were talking about earlier, you were on Facebook and then you started using Instagram and you've adapted and you've built that connection. You continue to build the connection by being consistent. So that is something that differentiates you from other people in the industry and why you've continued to succeed. So that's a really good thing.
And give one advice that you could give to your younger self when starting out.
Oh my gosh, if I could talk to my younger self, I would say have more confidence in yourself. And this is why I stress this so much because I've tried to understand why I'm like this. I honestly feel like I will talk myself out of things. And I feel like as much as I love my career, I feel like I could have done way more earlier had I just had that faith in myself. And that's why I realized you could have the most supportive partner, you could have a supportive family, girlfriends, whatever. No one can really change your mentality. It has to come from within. So, you know, this whole imposter syndrome thing that is like a lot of people are talking about, I didn't actually know what it was called before, but I was like, yeah, I understand this. I feel like maybe because of the business I was in, I always felt compared to other people. And I'd be like, and everybody always wants to give you an opinion on your career. So people would be like, oh, why don't you go to the States? Or why don't you do like, you know, I won't name these other TV stations, but go there. Why don't you do this and this? And I would always like second guess myself and being like, am I doing the right thing? Like, what should I do? And there's no manual. Like, there's no one can tell me the right answer. It's my journey. It's my destiny. Like, what am I going to do? So I feel like I'm finally in a place where I'm like, I don't care what other people think I should be doing. What is it that I see myself like in 1 year, in 5 years? And I always saw myself having my own business. I wanted to be more of a producer because I'm really creative. I love media, but I wanted to also have a say behind the scenes and say, okay, there's an event happening. How do we produce it and make it a great show for people? How do I, you know, maybe produce a documentary? Like there's so many things I want to work on, but it felt really limited because my audience expected a certain thing from me when I was in television. So I think if I could give any advice, it's just have faith in yourself. Like if you feel like, you know what, I'm ready to leave this company or I'm ready to try something else, do it. You will never, ever, I really, truly feel like this, you'll never feel ready. I've yet to meet anyone, male or female, that said, I just, you know what, one day I woke up and I was like, today's going to be the day. No one ever does that. You got to just go like, set a deadline for yourself. Say, okay, what do I need to do to get to that? And start working on it and just do it. Fun fact, by the way, before we leave this interview, I actually moved to Toronto with no job. So you know how we were talking about just have
Wow.
confidence? So I share this story whenever I mentor a lot of women in journalism, and they're always like, how did you get into television? And I'm going to quickly share my story so you can just hear how crazy it was. But I had actually won a beauty pageant title randomly. So I had kind of been exposed to media that way. So I fell in love with the sets because I'm from Winnipeg. We really didn't have like the fashion or glam industry there. I'd never been on a TV set before. So all of a sudden I win this international title. I'm going around the world being interviewed, and I just loved the environment. And I was like, okay, I think I want to work in television. So my reign finishes and I'm back in Winnipeg, and I'm thinking like, what am I going to do? I knew I wanted to stay in Canada. And the IFAs had happened here, which were the Indian Oscars. This was like 2011. And I was watching it and I was like, okay, I just won an Indian beauty title. I literally spent some time in India. I feel like I have connections that maybe could help me. I'm like, I think I'm going to move to Toronto. Again, I really didn't know the plan, but I just knew I had to do something because I felt like I was just standing still. Life was passing me by. And I'm like, I'm just so indecisive. What is it that I'm doing now? So I basically gave my deadline, said September long weekend, I'm going to move. And I stuck to it. I remember writing on my calendar. So I started taking some trips where I would fly in and like short weekend trips. And I would figure out, okay, like first I had to get a place to live. So one of the weekends before, I was able to close on a condo. Again, had no job. So I literally had to get my mom to like get the lease for me. The place that I got was on Spadina, right near the CN Tower, because I figured I'd never get lost. If I knew where the CN Tower was, I'd be able to go. Remember, I had not spent that much time in Toronto. So I didn't know, and I didn't have any connections here. I had like extended family that I've seen once in my lifetime, or like maybe some pageant girls. Again, not close. So no friends, didn't know the city. I was so new. I accidentally wanted to go to Much Music, Queen Street. I ended up in Brampton, Queen Street, because I didn't understand the cities. Like that's what I'm saying. The city was so new to me. But then the deadline came and I just moved. And I remember that weekend after my mom left, the first day I'm in my condo, I'm sitting there. I had no furniture either. I slept on the floor that day because I was going to go get furniture. And I remember crying, just being like, my mom just left. I just signed this 1-year lease. I had the CN Tower out my window. And I was just like, am I making the right decision?
Yeah.
I was so scared,
Yeah.
ladies. Like, honestly, I share this story all the time. I still remember that feeling of being like, my whole life was in Winnipeg. I just left everything I've ever known. I left the security of my family. I'm in this big city. I don't know anyone. I'm telling you, I cried a lot that year.
Yeah.
And like, I was so scared to fail and go back. But I just had this whole like make or break attitude where I'm like, no, I refuse to go back to Winnipeg as a failure. So I'm going to do whatever it takes. So that's when I started knocking on doors and I thought, okay, who do I know here? So the TV network that I ended up working for, I'd actually been on their shows as a pageant winner. And I remember they were so nice to me and I had a relationship with the CEO. So I made a call. I was like, can I meet you for coffee? Went to his office. We had coffee. And I was like, I have a marketing background, I have a business background. Maybe I could work in marketing or something for you. And like, God bless him. He saw like this talent in me. He's like, I think you'd be great for on air. He's like, I'm actually expanding. Would you consider on air?
Wow.
So I never planned to be on air. I just wanted to work in television. But he was the one that was like, I think you would be really great on air. You just have this like fun, like he just saw something in me. I remember he just said my energy was really good with people. So I didn't have a job. So I was like, if that's the only job that's being offered to me, I'll take it. So he was like, let's just do it like part-time for like 6 months and then we'll revisit and see how we're both feeling. I got promoted to full-time in a month.
That's amazing.
And I never looked back.
Wow.
And that is how I spent 10 years in television. And that is why now I have my own media brand. And that's why I share that story, because I'm like, if I hadn't taken that risk and just said, I'm terrified, I'm crying. If I hadn't done all those things and moved to a city I didn't know, who knows where I would be? I think I would still be probably in Winnipeg thinking, what if? Right?
Yeah.
And look at me now. I feel like my career has been better than I could have ever dreamt. So that's just a little story I wanted to end off with. But just to say, like, if you just have this feeling that there's something that you should be doing, but you're letting fear stop you and you're thinking, oh, well, I don't have the money or I don't have the connections or whatever. Like, you got to hustle. You got to figure out what you got to do. Like, again, I didn't know anyone in Toronto, so I couldn't even get an apartment on my own. So luckily, like, I had my mom sign, but after that, the money was all on me, right? So you got to just kind of like take a leap of faith and just know
risks.
you'll land on your feet. Yeah.
Yeah, you took a risk and look at you now.
at you.
Guys, lesson, the moral of the story, don't be afraid to take a risk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
Just
do
do
it.
it. I'm
Follow
telling
your
you.
freaking dreams.
Follow
That's
your gut
it.
feeling.
And it's okay if you cry. Honestly,
That's
don't think
it.
that means like you're
Yeah.
not okay. It's okay to be scared. Actually, I think that's
Yeah.
quite normal. Cry, be insecure, have anxiety, but don't stop. I think that's my main thing to
Don't
take
stop,
away.
like, don't let it get into you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't let that fear make it your personality.
Just
Take
do
the
it.
risk.
Like Nike says, just do it.
Just do it. Just do it.
That's it. All right. Thank you so much for being a part of the summit. I'm sure we both learned so much
yeah, a
today.
lot.
I hope
And I
so.
hope our viewers did too. We hope to have you back again soon because
Yes.
this was amazing. And I'm sure you still have so much more to say. So many more stories to tell.
Oh, I've got some good
But-
stories for you off camera. We'll talk
Yeah,
about.
exactly. All right. Thank you again, Amen.
Thank you,
so
ladies. This was
much.
amazing.
You're
Thanks.
amazing.